Hi guys, this is a video that'll go along to help you when you're selecting an image out of, or an object out of an image, and then you're wanting to use it in another image and being able to kind of cut it out using the Select and Mask tools in Photoshop. So let me go open up Photoshop, and you can see here I've used it, I've pulled it up, but I want to show you another way. If it's already in here, you can use it, but if not, what you can do is come over and find it on your desktop and drag it into open, and it'll open for you just like that. Also, you can do file and open, and you can find it on your desktop or wherever it's saved. So there's a couple of options of getting it in. Remember, if you do file and then place embed, it's going to embed it within another document that's already open, and that's not what we're doing. We're actually just opening this one. So I have this, and to get it up to the size I want, I'm just going to hit Command 0 or Control 0 on a PC. And then what we're going to start using is the Select and Mask tool that you'll see right here. The reason you see it as an option is because I'm already on some type of selection tool. So I go here with the lasso, and you'll see here it is as well. I go over here with the magic wand or the quick selection tool. You'll see not only do I get a Select and Mask option, I also get a Select Subject, which is no big deal if you didn't get one, let's say on the marquee. If we select on this one, when we actually tell it to select a mask, you'll have that Select Subject option. So let's get started. So what I want to do is I want to take this little girl, the swing out, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge because of the haziness of the image, intentionally so, but I'm going to try to get that out of there. So I'm just going to stay here on this one, but any of the selection tools, you'll get this option, and I'm going to click Select and Mask. And if you remember, we had talked about the different view modes that you can use. This one I really prefer. It's just personal, just because I can definitely see what's happening as the computer goes through and I'm working on it, or the computer's going through and working on things I've asked it to do. Onion skin is another one. Marching ants. So let's do onion skin quickly. So I'm going to select a little area here. So I'm going to use this tool over here, which is the quick selection tool. We have a refine edge brush tool as well. We have a magic brush tool. We have the lasso tool, and then a hand tool where you can move an image around, see, on there. And then obviously the zoom tool, which is Z, and you can zoom in. What we're going to be focusing on mostly in this is the quick selection, a little bit of the refining the edge, and the brush tool I use a lot because then I'm in control and the computer is not. And as you can see, the computer is extremely helpful, but sometimes you have to go back and make the refinements that you need for the image. So let's get going. So I have this, and what I'm going to do is show you that Select Subject. And what that's going to do is the computer, as you can see here, automatically creates a selection from the most prominent objects in the image. The computer is going to try to help you and show you what it's reading and pull it out. So I'm going to hit Select Subject. It's going to tell me it's going to discard what I've already done, which is perfectly fine. And let's wait for it. And so you can see here that the computer has now made some selections. And this is what I mean. I'm going to go back and put it on overlay so I can definitely see. So as you can see, the computer has definitely gotten started, but there are some areas I need to come in and fix on my own, especially coming up here with the dress, right through here, obviously spaces within here and here. So now that this has happened, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make certain I'm on my quick selection right now still, so let the computer continue to do it for me. I'm going to click and hold and drag across this. There's a little red area there. Do the same thing over here for this bar on top of the swing set. I'm going to click here and let the computer do that. Click here and let the computer do this as well. And then remember, now it actually selected this and I don't want it. So if I just click on the selection tool, it's going to continue to select more. I want it to go back and deselect or bring back some more of that red. So holding the Alt key, you're going to see up here, when I press the Alt key, take a look at the top, it's going to go to minus. Let me go over here. And it's going to go to minus, and that's what I want. So now I'm going to click with the minus and be able to bring some of that red back in here. Now what I need to do is zoom in. So I'm going to hit Z and just click and hold until I can really zoom in. Hold the Alt key, it'll zoom out for you as well. And then back to the selection tool, holding the minus. I'm going to kind of come up to the edge here. Now remember, we talked about this To make the brush size that you're using, whether it be a quick selection, whether it be your eraser tool or your brush tool, to do this, all you do, if you look on the right side of your computer and your keyboard, you'll have bracket keys. And if you hit the right bracket, look what happens. It gets larger, and if you hit the left bracket, it gets smaller. So it's a really wonderful shortcut to use while you're working, and you don't have to come up here and play with the size. You can just play around with it as you go. So right here, I need to come in here. I'm going to make the brush a little smaller, and then I'm going to hold the Alt key to use the minus, meaning I'm going to put the red back in and just click and hold and drag a little and let the computer do it. And now what I want to do is take out this chain. So I'm back on the selection tool right here, no minus, because I want it now to select this. And then I'm just going to kind of click and run myself around this chain a little bit. And it took too much, which is fine. We know what to do now. To get it back, I'm going to hold the minus key and click inside, and then I'm going to click inside there while I'm still holding the minus key. Maybe a little bit through here. And then also too, what I want to do is, you'll see these edges, and it's really important to keep your edges soft. So a lot of times what you can do is come over here and play with feather just a little bit. I'm going to do a really heavy feather so you can see how it softens the edges. We don't need that. We don't want that. What I'm going to do is go back down to maybe, let's see, 0.3, and just to keep it soft, so when I cut this out, maybe I'll do 0.4, when I cut this out, the edges will be somewhat soft. So I'm going to work myself around, and by holding the hand tool, which is right here, you can either come here and hit it, or you can hit H, or a shortcut to keep you in the tool while you're using it. If you hit the space bar on your keyboard, and then you'll see that will bring the hand up. So while holding the space bar, you can move around. And then when you get where you want, you just lift up from the space bar and it automatically goes back to the tool you were on. So I need to select in here in between the toes. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and get in here. And then back here, looks like it got a little too much into it. And now I'm just going to go back and forth and try to clean up some things. Holding the Alt key, I want to bring a little red back in there, too much. So letting up on the Alt key, I'm going to let the computer do it again. And then right in here, you're going to see there's more of the dress that needs to come out right here. So I'm going to let the computer select that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the brush tool. And then I've let the computer select that, and that's way too much. So I hold the Alt key again, still in quick selection, and kind of let it figure it out. And the more you go back and forth, the more the computer starts to kind of read what you're trying to do. I'm going to come up here, maybe hit that edge, hit this a little bit. And now what I want to do is I can go to the Refine Edge brush, which is right here, and you can run it on an edge this way. And the computer will once again try to refine the edge for you. In an image like this, it's helpful, but it's not doing a great job on that skirt. But I'm going to refine the edge here, click, and just click anywhere. And what I'm going to do now is go back to my quick selection, tell the computer to do it. Once again, it's going to go outside of what I want, and I'm kind of intentionally telling it to right now because I kind of want to see where this dress ends again. Holding the Alt key, come back in, and now it's being really cautious because it's seen me kind of play in this area a couple of times. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab my brush tool, and this is where I have control. If I just click and drag like this, I'm going to make my brush a little larger. So now what I can do is, with my brush tool, I can actually come and paint this out myself, and I have control over what's happening just on that edge. So the brush tool kind of lets you come back through and clean up some edges if you would like. I'm going to make the brush a little smaller here because I'm on the edge. And then the same thing, let's say oops, I go out too far. Just hold the Alt key, and then you can come back in. And this is a good way, by holding the Alt key, you can clean up any little white fuzz that you might see on this image. And then the same thing here, I'm still holding the Alt key, and got into the edge there a little. So I let up with the Alt key, hold the Alt key here to get some of the area that the computer has already selected, and I'm going to tell it to deselect it by painting out. I'm okay with that. And maybe a little Alt key right in here just to kind of finish that up. Maybe in here with some white hanging out in the background. And then just clean up the image the way you want. Maybe I'm going to clean up in here just a little. But I have complete control over it now because I am using the brush tool. I'm not asking the computer to do anything for me. And so I like to finish up my images like this. I think that'll be all right. Let's see. Okay, this is all right for this. And then I'm going to hit Command 0 or Control 0 to go back in. So now we can see which part is selected. So what I'm going to do down here is you have to do output settings. We'll talk about decontaminate colors on another image after you kind of get comfortable with doing this. It works really great with hair if hair is actually pulling in a background color, but we don't have to worry about that with this image. This is something that we'll talk about more. Output, I have it to selection, so that means it's going to come out as those marching ants, but you can output it in a new layer. You can do different things with it if you would like. I'm just going to do selection for this, and you can play around with other things you know, later and see which is easiest for you. And also it changes in terms of what you're trying to do with the image. So I'm going to hit OK, and I have this. And so what I'm going to do now, it's selected. I'm going to hit Control C and copy. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag another image. I'm going to take this image. Remember, I can just take it and drag it right to the top of the bar, and it'll open a new one now. I don't have to go to what we did the first time, which was I pulled it into the open icon because I didn't have anything else open already. But now that this is open, this bar is here across the top, so I can bring it on in. So what I'm going to do now is hit Command V and paste it in. And as you notice, it's on another layer right through here. And also what I need to do is make this larger. So Command T, which will take us to, remember, our transform. So we're in free transform, Command T, holding the Shift key while I do this. And if I hold Shift and Alt together, it'll actually pull it from the center of the image. I can make this larger. And so I'm going to make this about this size. I can still make it a little larger because even if the pole from the top of the swing set goes off the edges, we won't see it within this document. So I'm going to hit Return and Enter, then hit V, which takes us to our Move tool, which you should be comfortable with. And then you can pull this anywhere you want. And so now I've kind of pasted this image inside of this image. And then I want to do something else. Now I've pulled another image. What did I do with it? There it is. I'm going to pull this image into the document now. I don't want to open it. I'm going to bring another image into this document. And I want it underneath my fill. So let me hit Enter so it'll let me move it. And there it is. And so, well, slow down. There we go. Okay, so now I have this image of this tornado in between the girl on the swing set and the background. And so what I want to do is make this image larger. So same thing. I'm going to hit Control T to transform. I'm going to blow it up, move it around. Something like that. Maybe offset her a little with the tornado. Something along those lines. Or maybe, yeah, we'll just do this. And so I have this image, and then I'm going to hit OK. And so what's happened now is this image is in front of this image, and it's blocking it. I want to merge those two together. And so to do that, what you do is you come up here, and you've got these blending modes, which are awesome. They're for different layers, and you can actually blend another layer into the one underneath it or on top of it. How you want to look at it. And you can go through and play around with these and see what these layers will do. I'm going to use, like if you go to screen, it actually lightens the image. And so what you can do is look at these sections. These lighten images, these darken images. The one I usually use a lot is multiply. And you'll see that it actually blends now this image in with this image. So now I can go to this one and take the opacity down. And you can see that we have these three images kind of, now blending together, and I can go back to here, hit V, and I'm on my swing set. I can move her up a little if I want, and take her in, or she can move down here, or maybe more to the side. If she moves more to the side, I think I might do something like this. I'm going to need to transform her to make her a little larger again, holding the shift key, so the bar of the swing set actually touches the edge of the image. I mean, you can't just leave the swing set just ending. You've got to make it work within composition. Think about that. And yeah, something along those lines. It's heavy up there. So I'm going to do this and then hit OK. So if this is what you want and you're done, and like I said, this exercise is just to show you how to be able to blend some images together, to cut something out or select something out of another one, place it into a different one. Let's say I'm done. So what we're going to do to turn this in, remember, all I need is a JPEG, so you can do files, save as, or I'm just going to do a quick export. And what this allows me to do is I just export it out, and then I can continue to do things and play around if I would like. So I'm going to export as, we're about a PNG right now. If we're turning this stuff in, a JPEG is fine. So I'm going to hit export all, and it's on the desktop. So Tornado, JPEG, desktop. It's done. And then now what I can do is come back to the background if I would like, and let me double click on this to get rid of the lock. And then that was just a quick way to do it. Also, you can do it up here. But now remember, this is where we can play with something we just have done in some of the other exercises. I'm going to go to hue saturation, and maybe I want to play with the feel of it and make this image something more along those lines instead. And then I can saturate it more. And so this is where you can start using some of the things we've already done up to this point within here. But I think I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to play around with the lightness and the saturation. I'm okay with that, so I'm going to hit that. And now what I can do is, again, file, export it as a JPEG if that's the one that I want to turn in. So, all right, good luck. Bye.